The autumn light that filled Emily's studio was warm, but it did little to ease the chill of disbelief that had settled over her. The scene at her doorway was a surreal tableau of accusation and betrayal. Her sister, Jessica, stood flanked by their parents, her face a masterpiece of tear-strewn anguish. Behind them, the two police officers were a wall of grim authority. Emily Johnson, you are under arrest on suspicion of kidnapping a minor. Sophia Miller, stated the older detective, his voice devoid of inflection. He held up a pair of handcuffs, the steel glinting in the morning light. The word, kidnapping, hit Emily like a physical blow. No, this is a mistake. Jessica, tell them, you called me Friday night, you said Brian's mother was sick. Jessica's response was a heartbroken wail. How can you lie like that? I never called you. You took my baby. She clung to their mother, Margaret, who looked at Emily with an expression of profound, bewildered pain. Jessica has been frantic since Saturday, Brian interjected, his voice tight with controlled fury. She came home from visiting my perfectly healthy mother to find Sophia gone. My mother was playing bridge. Emily, she's never been better. The ground seemed to shift under Emily's feet. Healthy, bridge. The pieces of Jessica's lie began to snap into a terrifying picture. Detective Harris raised a hand. Mrs. Miller, you mentioned evidence. Yes. Jessica produced her phone with a trembling hand. This email came from her account on Friday. She held it up for the detective, and Emily caught a glimpse of the text. I will take care of Sophia. Let me keep her with me for a while. I didn't send that. Emily's protest was desperate, but it was drowned out by Jessica's next move. And my neighbor saw her. Jessica gestured to an elderly woman hovering at the edge of the group. Mrs. Parker, tell them. The woman nodded grimly. Clear as day. Friday night, around 10. Her car was parked down the street from the Miller's house. I saw her behind the wheel. A cold dread seeped into Emily's veins. She had been home all Friday night, finalizing a design. Someone was constructing a cage of lies around her, and the walls were closing in fast. The final piece, Jessica said, her voice dropping to a wounded whisper. She played a voice recording, a distorted, but eerily similar version of Emily's voice filled the hall. Jessica, I'm taking Sophia. You don't deserve to be a mother. The gasp from their parents was audible. Robert, their father, stepped forward, his face ashen. Emily, for God's sake, stop this. Just confess. What did you do with her? The betrayal was now complete. They believed the phantom, the fabricated version of her. They saw a monster, not their daughter. As Detective Harris moved to apply the handcuffs, a small, sleepy voice cut through the tension. Stop it. Leave her alone. Sophia stood in the hallway to the bedroom, clutching her stuffed animal, her small frame trembling in her pajamas. All eyes turned to her. Sophia, Jessica cried, her voice cracking with feigned relief. She rushed forward, arms outstretched. My baby, you're safe. But Sophia flinched, darting behind Emily's legs and clinging to her aunt's pajamas. No, don't touch me. The air went out of the room. Jessica froze, her arms still extended into empty space. Sophia, honey, it's Mama, she pleaded, a note of genuine panic slipping through her performance. The child shook her head, her large, intelligent eyes filling with tears as she looked at the circle of adults. She pointed a tiny, accusatory finger at her mother. You're the one who's lying, she whispered, her voice gaining strength. You told me to pack my bag. You said we were playing a special game with Aunt Emily. You said not to tell Daddy. Her gaze then swept to the police. Aunt Emily didn't do anything wrong. She just took care of me like Mama asked. The silence that followed was heavier than any accusation. The carefully constructed story, the email, the staged sighting, the fake recording, all of it crumbled under the simple, honest testimony of an 8-year-old child. Jessica's mask of hysteria melted away, leaving behind a raw, exposed fear as she met Emily's horrified gaze over their niece's head. The real mystery was no longer about a kidnapping, but about what desperate secret Jessica had been trying to hide. The air in the hallway crackled. All eyes fell on Sophia, a small, defiant figure clinging to her aunt. That's not true, Sophia declared, her voice gaining a strength that belied her years. She pointed a trembling finger at her mother. Mama is lying. I heard you on the phone. You told Aunt Emily it was an emergency and to take care of me. Jessica's face went ashen. Sophia, you're exhausted. Darling, you're confused, she insisted, her voice a strained, sugary whisper. But Sophia would not be silenced. You were wearing the new blue dress, the child continued, her gaze unwavering, and the special perfume from the fancy bottle. You don't wear that to the hospital. You didn't go to the hospital at all, did you? Sophia, that's enough. Jessica's voice sharpened into a blade. A hush fell, so profound they could hear the rustle of the detective's jacket as he shifted his weight. Then, Sophia delivered the blow in a small, heartbreaking murmur. She went with Uncle Mark. The name hung in the air, toxic and undeniable. Be quiet. Jessica's shriek was pure, undiluted panic. But the spell was broken. Detective Harris' hand, which had been moving toward Emily, fell to his side. Officer Davis's posture shifted from neutral to intensely focused. Brian's face, once a mask of righteous anger, crumpled into bewildered devastation. Mark? Brian's voice was dangerously low. Who is Mark? He's a neighbor from the club, Jessica stammered, her eyes darting like a trapped animal's. It's not what you think. Uncle Mark is Mama's secret friend, Sophia clarified with devastating innocence. He comes over after you leave for work. Mama said it was our special secret, but Aunt Emily says secrets that hurt people are wrong. The dam broke. Brian slammed his fist against the wall, a raw, guttural sound of pain escaping his lips. Mark Davidson? That divorcee from 2 doors down? Jessica, for God's sake, explain this. Detective Harris knelt before Sophia, his voice a gentle rumble. Sophia, look at me. This is very important. Are you absolutely sure your mother called your aunt on Friday night? Sophia nodded, her curls bouncing. Yes, she said. It's an emergency. Please, Emily. And that grandma was sick. I was on the stairs. The detective rose, his gaze settling on Jessica like a weight. Mrs. Miller, your daughter's testimony seems very specific. Jessica opened her mouth, but no sound emerged. The intricate web of lies she had spun was collapsing in on itself. My mother is perfectly healthy, Brian spat out, his voice trembling. I spoke to her on Saturday. She was planning her golf outing. I was worried, Jessica cried, a last, desperate grasp at the narrative. I thought she was ill, but it turned out to be nothing. Stop lying to me, Brian roared, the sound echoing in the confined space. I called your parents' house Saturday night looking for you. Your mother said you never came. You lied to them, too. Robert and Margaret, who had been silent spectators to their daughter's unraveling, finally stirred. Margaret brought a hand to her mouth, her eyes wide with horror. Jessica, you used us as part of this charade? The color drained completely from Jessica's face. The architecture of her deception was exposed, beam by rotten beam. Sophia, encouraged by being believed, pressed on. Mama told me they were going to a hotel. She called it a special weekend. Sophia, I said stop. Jessica lunged forward, but Officer Davis moved with practiced efficiency, placing a firm hand on her arm. The child will speak, ma'am. Detective Harris pieced it together aloud, his tone cold and procedural. So, you fabricated an emergency to leave your daughter with your sister, allowing you to spend the weekend with your affair partner. When your husband grew suspicious, you needed a scapegoat, so you constructed an elaborate fiction, casting your own sister as a kidnapper. The email, the AI-generated voicemail, the bribed neighbor, all to cover your tracks and play the victim. Emily finally found her voice, cold and sharp with betrayal. You were going to let them send me to prison to hide your affair. The truth, laid bare, was a brutal thing. Jessica didn't nod, but her silence was a confession. She sank to her knees, her body racked with sobs that now held no power to manipulate, only the stark reality of her shame. Margaret rushed to Emily, tears streaming down her face. Emily, forgive us. We should have known. We should have seen. Robert's head was bowed in defeat. My girl, we failed you. But Emily's gaze was distant, the wound too fresh. You've known me for 35 years, she whispered, and you chose to believe a forged email over a lifetime. Brian turned to Emily, his anger replaced by a hollowed-out guilt. Emily, I am so sorry. The things I said. Before Emily could respond, Detective Harris intervened. "Jessica Miller, you are under arrest for filing a false police report, perjury, and conspiracy to commit defamation." The metallic click of the handcuffs was the period at the end of her lies. As Officer Davis led her away, Jessica looked back, her eyes seeking her daughter's. "Sophia, please, forgive me." But Sophia had already buried her face in the fabric of Emily's shirt, seeking the safety she had always found there. The family court chamber was quiet, its solemnity a stark contrast to the chaos of that morning. The legal proceedings had been swift. Jessica, contrite and exposed, received probation and a permanent stain on her record, but the more significant battle was for Sophia's future. Brian, burdened by a travel-intensive job, had reluctantly agreed that his bid for sole custody was not in Sophia's best interest. When the court investigator asked the 8-year-old where she wished to live, her answer was immediate and unwavering: with Aunt Emily. Emily's home became their sanctuary. She traded her apartment for a small house with a garden, her graphic design studio now sharing space with Sophia's art projects and schoolbooks. The rhythm of their lives built around each other, a stable, loving partnership. Reconciliation with her parents was a slow, deliberate process. Emily did not shut them out, but she erected boundaries to protect her newly mended heart. "Mom, Dad," she said during one of their careful visits, "I need you to understand. The fact that you didn't trust me, that doesn't just vanish. We live with that regret every day." "Emily," Margaret replied, her voice thick with emotion, "let us prove we can earn it back." It was Sophia, in her wisdom, who became the bridge. "I want to see Grandma and Grandpa," she'd say, and Emily could not deny her that. Slowly, through shared holidays and quiet weekends, a new, more honest family dynamic began to form. 2 years later, on the occasion of her 10th birthday, Sophia made a request. She was ready to see her mother. The supervised visit was brief, held in a neutral, sunlit room. Jessica, looking older and quieter, wept as she faced her daughter. "Sophia, what I did was unforgivable. I hurt you. I hurt everyone who loved us." Sophia listened, her gaze clear and direct. "I forgave you a long time ago, Mama," she said softly, "but my home is with Aunt Emily now. She's my family." The words were a bittersweet balm. They held both the profound loss of her daughter and the assurance that Sophia was loved, secure, and whole. That evening, as a spring breeze drifted through the windows of their home, Emily and Sophia sat together in the studio. Canvases filled with Sophia's vibrant art leaned against the walls. "Aunt Emily?" Sophia said, looking up from her drawing. "I was thinking, family isn't just who you're born to, is it? It's who you choose. It's who shows up." Emily wrapped an arm around her niece, her daughter in all the ways that mattered, and pulled her close. "That's exactly right, my love. It's about the people who see you, believe you, and stand by you, no matter what." They had learned that truth not from ease, but from the wreckage of betrayal, and in its place, they had built something unshakable, a family forged not by blood, but by choice, honesty, and a love that had been tested and found true.